I am Seth Grantley, and welcome to the GKT Community Podcast, a podcast where we meet one of the inspirational people who share their knowledge and lived experience on globalknowledgetransfer.com. Ben, welcome to the Global Knowledge Transfer Community Podcast. It's a pleasure to have you on today.
Thank you, Seth. Looking forward to it.
When you're in school, what did you want to be and why?
In grade 11, I changed all my subjects to be an Air Force fighter pilot. That didn't last very long. And by the time I left year 12, I was planning on becoming a meteorologist and had applied and been accepted into a Bachelor of Science at University of Queensland, which in the end I never took up. I thought being a meteorologist would be pretty handy for my sailing aspirations at the time. I thought that might give me a bit of flexibility, which would have been nice. But again, never ended up getting there.
If you could go back now with all that you've learned, what advice would you give that year 11, year 12 Ben?
To become an accountant. In so many of the opportunities that I see now, I think having that real strong finance background was really sought after and would be a big asset.
Can you please give us your 3 career highlights that summarise your career journey that have got you to where you are today?
The first one that came to mind, the success that I had within the coaching environment, coaching sailors, young sailors, junior and youth athletes to the championships in Queensland National as well as World Championships, which was really fun, really rewarding. Early on in my sports administration career, gave me some credibility straight away that I knew the sport and understood it from the grassroots entry level performance, which was really good early on. Next was becoming the CEO of a state sporting organisation at 26 years old. Again, I still reflect on that. Being such a young leader in the sporting community was a bit of a highlight of mine. And then stepping into a national role within the senior leadership team of a national sporting organisation, and now having the largest team within that organisation and a 5 million annual budget is still reflect on as a bit of a highlight at the moment.
What is your current role? Why do you love it so much?
My current role is Head of Community Support and Events at Australian Sailing. It's working across the whole sporting ecosystem, really from the grassroots entry points, club development and supporting our network of 350 clubs around the country, supporting thousands of volunteers around the country to pursuing and really chasing the opportunities around the Brisbane 2032 Olympic and Paralympic Games, which is really rewarding and inspiring. And I'm also lucky that I get to have a little bit of an international flavour as well, working with the sailing countries in Oceania, the Pacific Islands, as well as different levels within the sport, from the entry level, how do we grow the sport, right through to that global strategy work, which is enjoyable.
You've been part of some major restructures in the organisation you're part of. Can you talk about how that was for you in that journey and for the organisation?
The large, restructure that we went through as a sport was sort of breaking down the federated structure into a one sport or one management model. And so we took every state entity, all of the staff, essentially the budgets, and combined them into one organisation. And at that time, I was stuck in the middle as a state executive officer, balancing a lot of different perspectives on what the right thing to do is, as well as a lot of different pressures around a future employer versus current employer versus staff that we had to manage. Nobody liked change. Helping everyone to understand their place in the change was critical, and that we got to a successful outcome. We're still working in reality through the process of finding all of the efficiencies. But I think being stuck in the middle between the different layers of the sport was a very steep learning curve. But I think clear communication, taking the time when it was needed, making sure that you're listening to everybody. And again, if you can't answer everybody, sometimes that's okay as long as people have felt heard.
What do you think the 3 key contributors to your success have been?
I think kindness has been a lasting sort of key contributor to where I am and my path to get in here. And then the ability to work strategically at, you referred to it, 30,000 feet, while also ensuring that the attention to detail that is required by our teams on the ground is maintained. Because I've worked from the bottom up from the assistant instructor with their toes in the sand through to a national role, stopped at sort of each stage along the way. The third one is that ability to see the opportunities and join the dots across the multiple streams of the business in what is always a dynamic environment with many conflicting priorities, and helping others to see those as well.
We've all been influenced by great people in our journeys, both in life and in our careers. Could you think of one specifically that's had a major impact on you and what that meant to you?
Narrow it down to one from a career perspective. A gentleman named Dennis Cook. He really allowed me to run and explore different ideas that I had as a young, energetic, enthusiastic sports administrator. And I think that gave me an early sense of achievement and confidence that I was able to hold on to, and knowing that there was always support there, and was huge at that point in my career.
You have now joined globalknowledgetransfer.com. What is it that you hope to achieve, and what do you hope to share through helping others?
Happy to talk about my experience and pathway to where I am or where I'd hope to be. I'm a big believer in that you often learn just as much by being the teacher or the coach than by being a student. So I'm hoping that the opportunity to share any of my experiences with others will help them, but will also assist me through the process to learn and develop as well.
If you could think about some specific skills, techniques, things that have served you well, what would you impart?
Ability to listen, the ability to consider the unintentional consequences, and I think the ability to pause and recognize who the stakeholders are that require probably different levels of engagement to assist you to get to where you'd like to be. A huge part of our role is constant change. We're always looking to improve something, or to get somebody to do a process a different way, or someone to become an instructor or a volunteer. So it's always change management. So I think the different processes and avenues that go in around that is where hopefully I can help.
You talked about not being emotional and controlling yourself, patience with the process, patience with people. Is that something that you believe has served you well, the patience as well as that emotional control?
I think this links back to my comments around kindness. Patience is a side effect, or maybe the cause of kindness. And I think at times I would make my life easier if I wasn't so kind, and that ability to not be so patient and to push people a little harder, or to have that more conflict conversation to reach a constructive outcome would often probably work more to my favor in the short term. But I'm hoping that the kindness helps me in the long term to eventually get there without burning in the bridges along the way.
Going back to being so young in a very senior role with significant responsibility, what were the major challenges you faced, and how did you overcome those?
Some of the challenges were definitely that ageism and the key stakeholders trying to take advantage of that, not in a bully way, but in a robust pressure type of way. I think the ability to stay calm in those situations and not to react or act emotionally. If we needed to take a pause, take the question on notice and come back to them. Taking the time to get to the right outcome is always better than getting to the easy outcome. We always face the challenge of balancing expectations versus limitations, whether that's budget or resources. I'm assuming for all organisations, but particularly the mid-sized sporting organisation, the expectations from the community are that you're always pushing forward, you're always delivering new things, that you're able to match the promotional campaigns that AFL might have as an example. But there's some real realities to how far a budget can go and to how much you can expect from a workforce. So I think clear communication always helps. Taking the time, as I said, to get to the best outcome rather than a quick outcome philosophy that we try and work with our teams around. And particularly pausing to consider what the unintentional side effects might be. If we're going to make a decision, we really have to make sure that we consider it and that it's the best possible decision, and what are the possible side effects or fallout. Being a young leader was definitely something that had to be overcome, and probably through perseverance was able to really drive through that. The other thing, working in sport, there's so many friendships within the community. And sometimes it's hard to balance those personal expectations versus the expectations of the organisation. There's often a difference of opinions.
If you could have 1 hour with any 1, 2 or 3 people, dead or alive, who would you spend an hour with and why?
I'd wrap them all up, and I'd love to have another 3 hours with my dad, who passed away a few years ago. That would mean the world to me. And if I had to pick 3 people, it would probably be my dad, my granddad, and my pop. Now, as a more mature adult and father myself, the opportunity to learn from their experiences. We're all vastly different, from a soldier in World War II to a cattle grazier to a school teacher. Yeah, would probably be where I would land.
Ben, thank you for joining us on the Global Knowledge Transfer Community Podcast today. It's been a pleasure having you.
Thank you, Seth. It was very interesting, and look forward to being a contributor.
That is all we have time for today. Thanks to our guest and our sponsor, globalknowledgetransfer.com. Don't forget to subscribe so you can be sure to meet more inspirational individuals from the Global Knowledge Transfer community in future episodes.